You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new Signature Wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and... she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat based on average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Welcome to a edition of the Loftus Party Show. That was amazing. I fall out of love with that music, and then I fall back in love with it. I'm sitting here listening to it at the headphones, and I'm just like, just let it rock. Just let it go. It's gotta suck. If you're in a band or a musician and you're making copyright-free, royalty-free music, and then you hear somebody using it, and you're like, oh man, that was good. I should have held on to that. Okay, it's Memorial Day weekend. It's a long weekend. Everybody has Monday off. We're going to start off by thanking everybody who's served, everybody who's made the ultimate sacrifice, everybody who's trying to keep America free, and everybody who has helped keep America free in the past. You all are the reason for the season. However, we're still going to have some fun. We're going to hit some barbecues. We're going to be doing all kinds of stuff. It's a crazy show. Not crazy, but it's a little different. We lost the Liberty Gimlet. She's AWOL. There's a problem with recording over Skype. She did her darndest to fix it, and the gods of all things technical conspired against her. She tagged out. We gave her the go ahead to hit a barbecue. We're like, go get your drink on, Liberty Gimlet. So she's getting a little break, and we are celebrating. We are heralding the return of Kung Fu Rick. He is in the house. He is on the line. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to be back. How you been doing?
Yeah. Busy. It's wonderful. It's been a great couple of weeks. I know you listen to the show. You help out. You're on air here all the time and doing stuff. We're deliciously close to beating the algorithm on Facebook. Last week, I thought we'd be close to 9,000 followers on Facebook. Dude, we're way closer to 10,000. Then that's supposedly when you break through. That's the breakthrough number for Facebook and for YouTube. People are digging what we're throwing down, and I'm loving it. The numbers for the LoftusParty.com are way up. The numbers for this show are way up. It's good. It's a lot of pressure, but it's a lot of fun, and I like. I love doing it, right? So why stop? I have no intentions of stopping. It's just getting better and better and better. So, yes, you did that little intake of breath like you were about to say something.
Actually, that was me trying to unmute my mic, but now that you can hear me again, I was going to say, yeah, you guys' numbers have actually, you guys are exploding all over the place. I get a look at a lot of the behind-the-scenes numbers for a few places when I'm putting the podcast and stuff together for you guys, and your numbers over the last few months have just gone way up. What I'm afraid of is you keep telling everybody what the magic number is for Facebook. Zuckerberg's going to figure out you've got the secret, and he's going to change the number on you if you keep telling everybody. I
tell you what, I will never, ever try to predict what that dude is going to do. I really won't. I have theories. Well, this actually leads into the first topic really, really well. Like there's that supposedly there's that doctored footage of Nancy Pelosi flying around the internet, and it's of her. I guess there's a bunch of videos. One of them is like she's sitting on a couch doing an interview, and somebody slowed down the audio, and they must have slowed down the picture just a hair, just a touch. So they took her, speaking normally, and then they slowed it down, like when a drunk person is really trying to not act drunk, so it looks like she's over pronunciating her words. It's actually, was cleverly done, whatever. But that's the doctored Facebook footage. Now, that's not the one that Trump tweeted, and that's not the one that Daily Wire and a lot of other ones are tweeting. That's just the ones that Trump tweeted is her stammering during a news conference or a press conference, and the one where she holds up two fingers and she says, "There's 3 things to remember," but she's literally holding up 2 fingers. That one's not doctored. There's nothing doctored about that. That's just her stammering through a press conference. Now, Facebook is taking a lot of heat because they've decided, and this is where, to your Zuckerberg point, this is like Facebook is leaving up the one of her on the couch where the audio's been slowed down. And I have, and they're taking a lot of heat for this, but I have a theory about that. Listen, this whole show is going to be a conspiracy theory show. I fear I've gone off the deep end. But here's Zuckerberg and the Facebook people have decided that they're going to let that video stay out there. And I think I know why. I think it's so they can say, there's a doctored video of Nancy Pelosi out there. There's a doctored video, so that if you see the real video of Nancy stammering through a press conference and holding up the 2 fingers, you think, oh, that's the one they doctored. That's the one they doctored. So there's no, which I think is really, really brilliant on the side of Facebook and the left. I'll give them credit for that. That way you can just discredit any video of Nancy stumbling and mumbling, and you'll think, oh, that must be the one that they doctored. You feel me? You know what I'm saying there, Rick?
Oh, no, I completely agree with you. And that was actually one of the first points I made when I realized they were leaving that video up. But to back up for just a second, it's funny that you're going to push this one as a conspiracy theory show, because I don't get to do this that often, so I'm going to plug something. Not last Friday, but this coming Friday, we're starting a new show on KLRN Radio called Juxtaposition, which actually will be a conspiracy theory show.
That's great. That's great. You know what's fun about conspiracy theories? Is there's usually like something there. There's usually and this goes back to the Nancy Pelosi thing. Like Nancy's behavior is odd. It's really odd. And and maybe it's just a dental thing. Like legitimately, maybe she just has to talk like that because she's always doing something weird with her teeth. Who knows what she's going through in her private life. But when your behavior is so odd like that all the time, and then somebody puts out a video of you like trying to put your words together, and then you have to come out and go, oh, no, that was doctored. Like the reason it got shared so much, the reason it was so like air quote popular was it was completely within the realm of possibility. Like I watched the doctored video this morning, And I'm like, that could be real.
Well, what also sold it is the guy, whoever did this, and I'm not going to say guy because I'm not sure, is an editing master, because I have some friends who do this type of stuff, and they basically pointed out the only way that they could have made it work was to slow everything down just a little bit. So it's probably at about anywhere between 75 to 80% of normal speed. And you're right, they did also slow the video tracking down just a little bit as well to make her movement seem more exaggerated. The fact that they found the perfect blend to make her seem like Otis from Andy Griffith was amazing.
It did. It was just like Otis from Andy Griffith. That guy was great. Yeah, I think they found the sweet spot. I think it was, they're saying now, video analysts are saying 75%. However, this also gives them free range to say, and someone already did this on Twitter. They're spreading doctored videos just like they did with Jim Acosta, And no, let the record show that Jim Acosta, when she gave that girl the karate chop on the arm, that was not doctored in any way. That was not. So I think it's a brilliant move on the side of the left to, just let the doctored video stay up there, and that way you can claim, all the videos are doctored. This must be the doctored one. And here's the other great thing. And a friend of mine on Facebook, who I'm not, excuse me, a buddy of mine on Facebook who's, we're not on the same political sides at all. He's really, really far, far left. But he brought this point up that never occurred to me. He's like, well, you kind of have to let the doctored Nancy Pelosi video up because you let all the doctored Trump things up. I mean, there's so many videos of, where they made Trump's face really, really red, or they put his head on another person's body, or, there's a million of those out there. So I guess you could say what's good for the goose is good for the gander, which has been my whole thing. That's been my theme this last week. And because holy smoke, let's bring this up as long as we're talking about Facebook and numbers. There is I did a video for YouTube and for loftusparty.com. Did it a couple days ago, and I thought it would be pretty good. There's ones where when you do them and you're editing them and you're putting them together, you're like, ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one. And it was a warning. It was meant to be. They're all meant to be funny. But like of Nancy Pelosi and the gangs in D.C. Wanting to dig into Trump's past, his business dealings when he was a private citizen, his taxes when he was a private citizen, which is, I don't think that's cool at all. I don't think that's good for anybody. But, in the video, I'm like, okay, well, let's dig into everybody's past when they were private citizens. And then I even went to Snopes and checked into this whole thing, does Nancy Pelosi's family have ties to organized crime? And even Snopes is like, they kind of do. So, and then you go back through everybody, Chuck Schumer, and all of them have something. So it's crazy. And maybe it's just two different audiences. The video's doing really well on Facebook. I think it's up to like 90,000 views. I mean, it's being shared thousands of times, which is wonderful, It's the best kind of advertising, is to actually do something funny and have people enjoy it and share it with their friends. And it kind of makes a point. But here's the weird thing. It's almost like YouTube turned the YouTube channel off. Like it's wild that a video could do so well on Facebook and just not do anything on YouTube. It's crazy. Now here's where I go to the conspiracy theory. When I titled the video, and this is like 3 days ago, the video is titled Nancy Pelosi Shouldn't Play This Game. Like immediately, like as soon as I clicked publish on the YouTube channel, it says this video's been demonetized. We don't think it's going to be suitable for all. Now, that just must be a combination of words that the AI reads and the algorithm and all that other stuff. So I clicked on I want a manual review. If somebody could look at this and determine whether it's suitable for all advertisers or not. And then a couple days later,
after, the video was performing really, really well. When you go to the analytics, like the first 2-3 days, it was just boom, just chugging right along. And then I got an email from YouTube saying, hey, we watched your video and yeah, that's suitable for all advertisers. And then after that, it flatlined. It's like, I really think that someone at YouTube Central said, yep, technically this is good for all advertisers, but we are going to not let a lot of people watch this. It's really crazy. It's conspiracy theory central. I know. But there's a reason some of these theories are true, because it's just to me it's crazy, because you have two different samples to go from, Facebook versus YouTube. And Facebook, it's just gangbusters, and then YouTube, it's like crickets. But anyway, that's not going to stop me.
You said mean things about Gammy Nancy, so that's not allowed, though. That's why.
Oh, dude, I went into and here's the wonderful part about it. And this is what I love. This is when I have to give myself a pat on the back. I'm always playing between the lines. I'm playing fair. I'm only using, I fact check stuff. It's none of this is just like crazy theories, but it's nuts. If you are the least amount of intellectually honest and do the smallest amount of like journalism or even pseudo journalism, you're amazed at the stuff that you find. Like, check this out. And I mentioned this in the Chuck Schumer portion of the Nancy Pelosi video. And I don't know if people know this. There was a girl who was on the show Smallville, which is actually a great show. Check that out. It's good in reruns. And she somehow got involved in some big, they're calling it a sex cult in New York. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. I can't think of her name, but I know exactly what you're talking about, because I couldn't believe it when I started reading the headlines. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, and there's crazy. Super rich movers and shakers that involved in this sex cult. Well, I guess when the FBI or whoever raided their offices, they had a bunch of data on Chuck Schumer, and they listed his name, the sex cult people did, as friendly, like Chuck Schumer's quote friendly. And so in the video, I'm like, hey, let's look into that. What's going on? Because that's the whole thing with the whole Trump Russia thing. They're like, there's a tape of Trump doing things with hookers in Russia, and they've got him over a barrel, and that's why he allowed them to interfere in our elections, blah, 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 blah. Well, hey, there's legitimately, and all of that stuff has been proven to be untrue. All that stuff has been proven to be untrue. However, here you've got Chuck Schumer's name legitimately popping up as being friendly to a legitimate sex cult, and no one is interested. No one. That's shocking to me. That's shocking to me. And then who was the other one? Oh my gosh, I got my notes here. It's like Dianne Feinstein's Chinese spy chauffeur. She had a Chinese spy as her chauffeur for 20 years, and no one seems to care. And then you got Elijah Cummings. Elijah Cummings, that guy. There's a new pay-to-play scandal with that dude. Just a couple days old, but you would never know it. You would never know it. The media is so in the tank for the left. It's almost like a comedy skit. It really is like a comedy skit. You can be on the left and you can almost do anything, and they're not even going to get away with it. And this comes back to Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi's out there a couple days ago just saying that, Trump's involved in a cover-up. He's involved in a cover-up. And no one even says, what do you mean? What's he covering up? No, not one reporter. She said it 3 or 4 times, and not one reporter even has the balls to say, what do you mean? What cover-up? That's criminal. That's criminal. Every journalist who was sitting in there who didn't raise their hand and say, what do you mean cover up? They should lose their press pass. They should really
they should lose their job, not just their press pass, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, here's another one. This is a great one. This is perfect timing. There is a journalist for the New York Times. This literally just happened on Twitter as we record this. a guy by the name of Ian Bremmer. And he tweeted out, oh my gosh, where is it? He tweeted out a fake Trump quote. He says, President Trump in Tokyo, and then parentheses, Kim Jong-un is smarter. It would make a better president than sleepy Joe Biden. So he just made that up. He literally just made that up. And now you've got all these people are retweeting it and quoting it. Ted Lieu, of course, Ted Lieu's retweeting it. And then somebody finally calls him on it and goes, when did Trump say that? And then Ian Bremmer goes, oh, he didn't. But we all believe but we all think it's reasonable to believe he was thinking it. And they're like, well, you can't present something as a quote and just say that he was thinking it. And he's like, oh, I did this to prove how the media is too quick to jump on fake quotes and made up news sources. Really? That's what you're doing? That's what you're doing, Ian Bremmer? You're doing a great big social experiment? It's shocking. It's shockingly bad. But it's been a bad week for journalists. And I know we have the sound cue. This fills me with delight. This fills me with that, what's that German emotion where you take delight in someone else's uncomfortableness?
I believe you're referring to Schadenfreude, but I think...
Yeah, Schadenfreude. It is fantastic. There is a woman by the name of Naomi Wolf. There's a girl named Naomi Wolf, and she just wrote a book about how these poor kids, these people, these homosexuals in England had been unjustly persecuted and sentenced to death. And she's on the radio. She's finished the book. That's the part that I shouldn't laugh. She finished a book about how all these kids were put to death for acts of like sodomy and stuff. She's on a radio program in England, and she finds out that she's wrong. She finds out that she should have looked more stuff up. She should have done some more research, and the entire hypothesis for her book is wrong. Do you remember that Simpsons episode where there was that stupid little kid who was in love with Lisa, and they're videotaping him opening a Valentine's card from her, and he realizes that she doesn't love him, and then Bart's like, ooh, look, it's the exact moment you broke his heart. And that's what's great about this clip. We have it queued up. It's the exact moment. I don't know why this makes me laugh so much. We'll just play it. We'll play it and then we'll comment on it.
You get sentences, as I mentioned, of penal servitude for 10 or 15 years. And I found like several dozen executions, but that was, again, only looking at the Old Bailey records and the crime tables.
Several dozen executions.
Correct. And this corrects a misapprehension.
Several dozen executions.
That is in every website, that the last man was executed for sodomy in Britain in 1835.
I don't think you're right about this. One of the cases that you look at that's salient in your report is that of Thomas Silver. It says teenagers were now convicted more often. Indeed, that year, which is 1859, 14-year-old Thomas Silver was actually executed for committing sodomy. The boy was indicted for an unnatural offence. Guilty, death recorded. This is the first time the phrase unnatural offence entered the Old Bailey records. Thomas Silver wasn't executed. Death recorded. I was really surprised by this, and I looked it up. Death recorded is what's in, I think, most of these cases that you've identified as executions. It doesn't mean that he was executed. It was a category that was created in 1823 that allowed judges to abstain from pronouncing a sentence of death on any capital convict whom they considered to be a fit subject for pardon. I don't think any of the executions you've identified here actually happened.
Well, that's a really important thing to investigate. What is your understanding of what death recorded means?
Death recorded, this is also from, I've just read you the definition of it there from the Old Bailey website. But I've got here a newspaper report about Thomas Silver, and also something from the prison records that show the date of his discharge. The
prisoner was found guilty and sentence of death was recorded.
Yeah.
But the jury recommended the prisoner to mercy on account of his youth.
See, I think this is a kind
In
of
the words of Mr. Smith.
When I found this, I didn't really know what to do with it, because I think it's quite a big problem with your argument. Also, it's the nature of the offence here. Thomas Silver committed an indecent assault on a 6-year-old boy.
Having an epiphany on live radio is not the best place to have an epiphany.
Oh my God! Well, the only thing better would if it would have been on television. It's just crazy how, and this is not. I don't want to underplay anything or overplay anything, really. I just think it's hilarious, just hilarious when she's like, "Well, that is a really good thing to know." Here you've got a radio host, an English radio host, who took like 5 minutes out of his busy day to actually look into the subject, right? He wanted to look at it like, is this true or is this not true? And he quickly found out that it wasn't true. And this is it's a beautiful case study in the problem with modern journalism. Is these journalists, they want something to be true. They latch onto an idea. Ooh, I want it to be this way. So I'm going to look into, this huge thing, and they only look at it through that one lens. And then you find yourself wasting a couple of years of your life writing a book about how these people were put to death for being gay, and it never happened. It never happened. And the one guy, the Thomas Silva, good Lord, he raped a 6-year-old. There's somebody who probably should have been put to death. So I just, oh my gosh, I just found that to be delightful, just absolutely delightful. Do you watch the Mark Levin there, Rick, on the Fox News?
Yeah, actually, most everything I watch, I record and then I go back and watch later because Lord knows I don't have time to watch live TV. But yeah, his is one of the shows that I actually watch. Him and basically The Five are the only two things that I watch on Fox News on a regular basis anymore. Unless, of course, I get told ahead of time that you're going to be on the morning gig, which you do from time to time.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I was on the other morning. It was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. I'm enjoying that. I'm always very happy when they call me in. I watched. I challenged Pete Hegseth to do stand up. I was giving those guys some grief a couple weeks ago. So it looks like that's moving forward. Hegseth and I, and hopefully Gutfeld and a couple of the other cats from Fox. We're going to try to raise some money for a veterans charity, and we'll be doing some stand up together. That'll probably be at the end of the summer. That'll probably be more towards August, September. But I saw that Hegseth was going to be co-hosting, or he was going to be the guest on Mark Levin's show. So I actually TiVoed it, and it was all about the media and how, like, I always think, I've wrapped my arms around the problem. It's a common theme for this show. Like, it's worse than I thought. It's worse than I thought. And then, boy, watching Levin, because he's got that new book out about the media, and not only is, like, air quote, like, real journalism dead, but like the journalists, and I use that term loosely, the ones that we're listening to and the ones that we're watching, they're all, not only is it not balanced and based on who, what, where, when, why, it's based on, is this good or is this bad for the liberal cause? Is this good or is this bad for the progressive agenda? Is this good or is this bad for the socialist utopia that we're trying to create? It's really awful. It's really awful. And Levin makes a lot of sense. That dude is compelling. A buddy of mine does a great impression of Mark Levin. I'm now doing my friend's impression of Mark Levin, and he gets more excited, and it's hilarious. I got to start doing that in my stand-up.
Dude, I love Mark Levin, but I can only handle him in small doses. There's just, after so long, his voice tone reminds me of Fran Drescher playing the nanny.
It does. He goes up, he gets excited, it gets more and more staccato, and it's hilarious. And like, I don't want to make fun of this guy. I really don't. But like, if I was Saturday Night Live, I'd go off on it. It's always funny when he's being interviewed. He's on Hannity all the time. And when his when Mark Levin is talking like this and speaking like this, you're in pretty good territory. You can always go, we got to wrap it up. We got to go. We got a hard break, commercial break. But when Levin starts going up and the tone gets higher and his voice gets, he's just entered at least a 5-minute tirade. At least 5 minutes. And your heart goes out. You got a host in New York who's got producers literally in their ear going, we got to wrap it up. We got to wrap it up. And you'll see Hannity. You'll hear Hannity going, 2 minutes, Mark. We got to wrap it up, Mark. Well, it's funny. I don't want to make fun of those guys. I want to make fun of the left. I want to make fun of the Rachel Maddows of the world. Mark Levin is wonderful.
It is still funny, though, but the thing that makes it the most funny is he does this for a living, so he's used to the scheduling and used to when they need to take breaks, and he will still intentionally try to blow through the break on anybody else's show. You cannot tell me he's not trying to do it on purpose because he knows better.
Yes! And he's like daring them. It's like you nailed it on the head, man. It's like a little mini soap opera. It's like a little mini movie. They've had Mark on. They know what he's going to do. He knows what he's going to do. Everybody knows what he's going to do. And they're like, you've got a 3-minute segment. And Mark Levin comes in, and you're at the 2-minute 30 mark, and you're like, okay. And then he starts going up. Diet Coke, funded by George Soros. George Soros, who treads a... We got to wrap... He just bullies them. Even on Life, Liberty, and Levin last Sunday, he's telling Pete Hegseth, remembered the day. Hegseth is like, it was like May 3rd, 2012. And you did an 8-minute rant. We only had 2 minutes for the segment. It was hilarious. But I don't want to make fun of Levin. I really don't. I'm not. I'm teasing in a good way. The guy's wonderful.
I don't.
So here's another
because I'm pretty sure that, like I said, I'm pretty sure he does it intentionally. I've found out some of their backstory from Hannity at one point in time. Where we actually talked at a few minutes at a CPAC once.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was about a 5-minute thing. We were at the bar together, and he was telling me how him and Levin had met, and that actually he was the one that helped Mark get on his first radio show. He actually footed the bill for him for a while. I was like, you want to foot somebody else's bill? And that was where the conversation ended.
Wow.
He was like, see you, man, I gotta go. It's like, okay. I hope you realize I was just kidding, but yeah, whatever.
I tell you what, no, that would be a really fascinating conversation to have. I would love to have that conversation with Sean Hannity, like legit. Here you go. Here's my little dream interview thing for today. This could change in an hour. I would really like to know from Hannity, from Rush Limbaugh, and from especially Glenn Beck, like how they started. And what they think that they were doing differently that started their popularity. If they could pinpoint the moment, or they could or what they thought, when they started to really kind of break through, and what they credit with that. Because it's crazy. I mean, there's a ton of really good radio personalities around the country. And not everybody breaks through. Not everybody makes that crazy connection. But like Limbaugh did it, and he still does it well to this day. Glenn Beck, you could argue he kind of went off the rails. He got real conspiracy theory, but like a lot of what that dude says, there's a lot of truth to that as well.
Well, having listened to both of them for a long time, I remember Limbaugh saying what his moment was when he realized he had something. And it was because basically, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, he basically grandfathered the format of conservative talk radio, because nobody even really knew it was going to be a thing when he came up with the idea. He's one of the first ones that started doing it. But when he knew he had something, and it was completely by accident. He was on air and somebody had sent him a new product called Snapple, and he started talking about it on the air, and suddenly they were getting... They sold out, and they were like, so what's going on? What's happened? Because back then nobody knew who it was, and they figured out that he was talking about it on his radio show, and since then the rest for him and them is history. As far as Beck, I think, at least for me, what set him apart from everybody else is he's the first talk show host I ever heard of who has my style of sense of humor. He was okay with making fun of himself to make other people laugh. And that's what set him apart for me. I don't want to speak for him, but that's why I started listening to him.
Yeah. Now with with the Rush Limbaugh Snapple thing, that's like when he realized, or when the rest of the world realized that something was happening, right? So you'd actually have to, I think, go back even farther, because Rush had to have been doing something, because a bunch of people were listening, and evidently they didn't know how big the audience was until the Snapple thing like proved it. All of a sudden they're like, whoa, holy crap, we're selling a lot of Snapple. That's proof that he'd made a connection with the audience. I just find it very, very interesting. And I love to reverse engineer stuff and see, and it really doesn't benefit me at all. It's just fun to figure out. But I love how.
As far as what gave him the actual idea, I've never heard him say, but I do know that at that time he'd only been doing this for, I believe, if I remember right, he said it had only been a few months. He came up with the idea to do it and decided he was going to do it, and they had no idea how big of an impact they were having until Snapple called them and said thank you for selling all our stuff, and they became his first sponsor.
I think at one point he was giving his show away.
He was. It was actually on the first station that I ever had my show on, which is WJNC out of it does Philadelphia, New Jersey. That was actually the first station that he got his show on, which was that was kind of funny, because the programming director that I was working with at the time told me that I don't normally do solo shows anymore, but I think you could be the next Limbaugh. And I said, I'm pretty sure you're just telling me that because my airtime check cleared, but thank you.
It's always funny. This is going great. We're like dovetailing into segue after segue. But like everybody's like, oh, well, the right has Fox News and the right has AM talk radio. And I just saw this the other day and retweeted it on the Loftus Party Twitter account. This guy, it's an interview with Andrew Breitbart, and this guy's sitting across the table from Andrew and going, hey, the right has Fox News and you have AM radio. What else do you want? What else do you want? And Breitbart doesn't skip a beat. He goes, I want all of it. I want all of it. I want all of the media. It's like, that's fantastic. If I would have been in an interview and they're like, okay, so you're a conservative comedian and writer, producer, and blah, 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 and you have this and you have that. What else do you want? I would have been back on my heels. I would have been like, I don't know. I guess we're doing okay. But Breitbart had the totally correct answer without missing it. Like, I want all of it, which is a great thing to have. But it makes me very happy that I'm out there amongst friends, and we're actually trying to make a difference. The last week and the week before on this show, I was talking about this show I was pitching, and how we pretty much just got these people just blatantly told us we know that show's great, we know it's a good idea, we know it would make a lot of money, but we're not going to put it on the air because it would make us look like we're friendly to the right. So I'm just okay. So if television for right now is not an option, then I'll just go back to the comedy clubs and just really, really start a grassroots movement, because there's people all over the country who they feel isolated and alone, and let's come together and have big laughs and make fun of the Nancy Pelosi's and make fun of the Chuck Schumers and make fun of the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes. And I tell you, this show comes out on a Monday. It'll come out on Memorial Day. And then Tuesday, I'll be at Zanies in Nashville. It's a phenomenal club. And we're going to have a blast on Tuesday night. And we hope to see you there. Tell all your friends. And then on Wednesday, we're in Huntsville, Alabama. I've never been to this club before. It's called Stand Up Live. I've heard nothing but great things. But we're going to be doing shows there. And then it's Kansas City and Omaha and Des Moines and Syracuse and Albany, and then there's going to be Orlando and Tampa, and we keep getting Hartford's going to be in there. So we're going to keep adding dates. We're going to keep doing more shows, and just taking it to the streets, which I'm kind of digging it. Like, listen, you guys, I have no problem being the underdog. When we started doing this show years ago, like, I legit knew, okay, so we're the underdog. We are the punk rock. We are fighting the man. And people love to say that we're not, and the right has plenty. No, Everyone's lined up against us. We are the counterculture, and I dig it. I dig it. I will gladly go from city to city and tell jokes and not have my freedom of speech stifled. Be able to cut loose on stage and have people laugh and take these jokes, for how they were intended. It's crazy. Like it's how we started the show. We're talking about the Nancy Pelosi video. It's like literally you have to think 3 or 4 times about a joke that you do for a YouTube video or a Facebook video. And I'm trying to play fair and trying to not get silenced and trying to not get demonetized or have videos taken down. So it's I'm looking forward to these shows so much, just to be able to cut loose and eliminate the middleman and just tell jokes in a comedy club in front of like-minded people. That's cool. It's what it's all about.
I'd be looking forward to them too, but you keep skipping Oklahoma.
Well, what's the club in Oklahoma? What's the nearest club?
I'll find one for you. There's two.
You know what? I want to say it's going to be. I think I'm going to say Looney Bins.
Yeah, I think they're still the biggest one around here. But yeah, I'm just giving you a hard time. It's just okay. I was like, so you're going to Kansas and Alabama? No love for. Yeah, I see how it is.
No, and you know what I'm thinking, dude? I got to write this down. I got to write it down.
I mean, come on, dude. All 77 counties went red 2 elections in a row. They will love you here.
No, but I'm writing down Oklahoma, Looney Bins, and then I got to call my buddy Rodney Carrington.
Oh, see, now
do you ever see Rodney?
Yeah, I've seen Rodney. Now you're just name dropping because I know this guy. I'm just playing. We need all the help we can get, and I don't think Rodney would be shy. We got to shout out this Loftus Party live show. One of the guys that I'm going on the road with is my buddy Reno Collier, who was on the Blue Collar Comedy Tour for many, many years and was Larry the Cable Guy's opening act. And Larry gave us a shout out. Larry the Cable Guy gave us a shout out on Facebook, which was, I think, insanely cool of him. Insanely cool. There's so many big name acts out there who are like, I can't risk being associated. I can't even risk mentioning it in a tweet because I can't be associated. I mean, and because they're afraid it'll kill their career. And that's a legit question. But I think Rodney, seriously, dude. Rodney might not even be cool with this, but he's a good dude and he's funny. Man, that dude is funny. I don't know if I've ever told this story before, but this would be it's a good one to have on the podcast. A million years ago, I was living in Columbus, Ohio. Pretty successful stand-up. I was touring around the nation. I was headlining, right? I was the closing act on the show, and there was there still is a comedy club in Lexington, Kentucky called Comedy Off Broadway. And it was run and owned by this wonderful dude, this wonderful man, Jeff Gilstrap, who I don't even know what his politics were. I just know the guy loved comedy. He loved stand-up, any kind. Like he loved really, smart, brainiac stand-up. And he loved real blue-collar, bumpkin stand-up. He loved puppet acts. He loved all of it. As long as you were making people laugh, he enjoyed it. He didn't like people who stole jokes. He didn't like people who did like hacky, familiar bits. He wanted it to be original. He wanted it to be original and funny. He did not care what you said. So there you have it. I got a phone call from him. Oh my gosh, this has to have been in the 90s. Holy smoke, I'm old. He calls me up and he says, Michael, I don't know if you're booked this weekend, but I'd love to have you at the club. And I'm like, absolutely, I'm free. What's going on? He goes, well, it's weird. I want you to kind of be on standby. I hired this new comedian. He came highly recommended. I booked him to headline. I just don't know how funny he is. So if you could come in and just kind of be available in case this guy tanks, and then I'll have you go up and close the show. And I go, absolutely, whatever I can do to help. So it was like free money for me. It was like free money. All I have to do is just like kind of hang out and see if I get called up. So I go to the club, and he's like, well, you can do some time. You might as well tell some jokes since you're here. And so the headliner
this kid who had never been hired or worked the club before, is this dude Rodney Carrington. So it's Wednesday night in Lexington, Kentucky, comedy off Broadway. There's like maybe 45 people in the crowd. It's a small crowd. The MC goes up, then the feature act goes up, and then I go up, and things are going wonderfully. And then Rodney comes up after me. And so we're all standing in the back. What's this guy going to do? It's this mystery performer, whatever. He whips out his guitar, and he's got this big white cowboy hat on and this shirt that's just so immaculately cleaned. Like he just took it out of the box. It was so clean. And he starts doing this song, I like my women like I like my chicken, just a little bit of fat on the end. Sing you. And it was hilarious. It was hilarious. And the only reason I tell this story, the only reason I really like this story is because I've only seen this a handful of times. when he just made some kind of really funny, really silly connection with the audience, and those people, it was a great show. He was hilarious, and there was only like I said, like 45 people there. The next night, I have to think all of the people from Wednesday came back on Thursday, and they brought their friends. So now there's like 100 people in the audience for a Thursday show. The show goes insanely well. The audience is singing along, hooting and hollering. Everybody's laughing. He's hysterically funny. Friday sold out. Saturday sold out. It was crazy. Just like the word got out about this kid. It was fantastic. It was really fantastic. He's a funny, funny dude. He makes me laugh. He had his own show on ABC for a while.
Yeah, I know. I remember.
It was great. I was working. Oh my God, I'm just telling old stand-up stories now. But maybe somebody will find this entertaining. I was working at the Improv in Tempe, Arizona. I had moved out to Los Angeles. But I'm doing a lot of road work, to pay the bills. I'm in Tempe, Arizona, and somebody tells me, like, wow, this is a great crowd, because Rodney's in town. My show was sold out. And they're like, oh, this is great. You sold out because Rodney's in town. I'm like, who? Rodney Carrington? They're like, yeah. So I get off stage, and this white tour bus shows up, and it's got Rodney Carrington on the side. So he comes walking in. He had just done a show somewhere, and I'm like, do you want to do some time? Do you want to do some jokes? Like, I was just bullshitting, right? I'm just totally, And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. Ding, dang, do. So I tell the MC to make an announcement. I tell all the people, sit back down. We got a special guest. And Roddy came up. He did some jokes. It was incredibly silly. And it was like so Vegas, hey, my buddy Rodney's here. He's going to do some time. So afterwards, we're hanging out and talking. And he's asking me, he's like, so did you move out to L.A.? You out in Los Angeles? I heard you moved out there. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I moved out. I'm like, how about you? He's like, I'm still in Oklahoma. They keep wanting me to come out to L.A. They want me to do a TV show. I told them no. And I'm like, well, really? He's like, yeah, they didn't have enough money for me. At the time, John Ritter was the biggest star on ABC. He was doing like this show, 7 Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter, or something like that. It was a big hit show for ABC, and he was like the highest paid actor. I guess Rodney, this is him telling the story. He went into ABC, and he goes, I'll do a show for you, but what's John Ritter make? How much does John Ritter make? You pay me what you're paying John Ritter, and I'll say yes. And dude, ABC said yes. And that's when he did his show Rodney on ABC. Just hilarious. So if I can work it out to stop by the Looney Bins with the Loftus Party Live, I'm going to definitely try to work it out with Rodney to have him come out and do some songs. That would be the best. That'd be a good show, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, if you can make it happen, I'll be there. It'll be a trek for me because I live down south now, but I'll be there.
Well, you're gonna have to make the effort. How far are you away from?
It's about a 45-minute drive. I live in between 2 small towns. I live in between Purcell and Washington, Oklahoma. I'm about 10 minutes south of Norman.
Okay. Did you say 10 minutes south of Normal?
Norman, but same thing.
Okay. Because I tell you what, 10 minutes south of normal sounds like a wonderful. That sounds like a best-selling novel right there. That sounds like a self-help book. 10 minutes away from normal.
You just gave me the title to my memoirs one of these days.
Right? Chapter 1, 20 minutes away from normal. Chapter 2, 15 minutes away from normal. Chapter 3, 10 minutes away from normal. Okay, I'm going to move on now to more media, and we got some more conspiracy stuff coming up for you. John Voight. Did you see John Voight's video on Twitter the other day where he's talking about Donald Trump is a great president? I love him. He's right up there with Lincoln.
Yeah, I've seen the video, and I've also seen the left's reactions to the video, which were even more funny.
Well, I've been thinking about this, and first of all, I want to say this publicly. Good for Johnny Voight. Good for John Voight, like, for standing up for what he believes. And, of course, the left is going to mock him and ridicule him. And, like, Alyssa Milano today called him an F-lister. And I'm like, you've got to be – your claim to fame is a show on TNT about witchcraft. And before that, Who's the Boss? Okay, so you were on two successful shows. John Voight is an Oscar winner. He's an Oscar winner. Like, important movies. And like, I was shocked when Alyssa Milano, like, really? You want to start having a resume contest with John Voight? With John Voight, you want to compare resumes? He's an F-lister? But how sad is it that, like, when he comes out in support of the president, that's the number one trending thing. Someone admits publicly that they think Trump's doing a good job. We should mock him. We should ridicule him. We should throw him out of our society. That's just proof to me, like, how twisted things have become, how insanely twisted they've become.
I mean, what bothers me about it is, I'm more concerned when it's the opposite, because despite all the data, the left is entirely convinced that he's going to destroy the country. And I don't see where they're getting their information from anymore. Because, I mean, at one point he was an unknown quantity, so everybody was pretty sure that we didn't know what we were getting. And that's, again, I've never been shy about telling anybody this. I did not vote for Donald Trump in the primary, and I did not vote for him the first time in the general. Based on the left's complete and total disregard for everything this man has done, and based on the fact that everything they told me we were going to find out from the Mueller probe didn't bear fruit, I will be voting for Donald Trump in 2020.
I hope that's the case with so many Americans, because it's wild. And I've stayed away from getting into fights, political fights on Facebook until recently. And I don't really fight. It's really like a kind of snarky, humorous reply. Like, these people that I know that they say, this is the end of our democracy. This is the end of our democracy. I usually go, I'm going to need some more specifics. I'm going to need, like, how and what is happening specifically that is the threat to our democracy. And then people love to post, Trump is guilty. He's guilty of this and he's guilty of that. And then I always say, well, you might want to tell Mueller. You might want to tell someone in charge, because, that guy had unlimited funds and unlimited resources and tons of lawyers and FBI agents, and he missed what you've so wonderfully grabbed onto. So you might want to take your evidence to him. It's nuts how they're just like they can just completely ignore the reality of the situation. And not only do they ignore the reality of the situation, they flip it back on you, and they're like, "Oh, you're just a Trump bot. You're unconvincible because you're so deluded. You've been drinking the Trump Kool-Aid." It's hilarious.
It's annoying is what it is. I mean, the same thing happened to me today, right? So I saw somebody tweeting out about the Electoral College and it being dumb, and I'm like, no, the Electoral College is what keeps our representative democracy, otherwise known as a republic, functioning, because it gives the ability for smaller states to still have input. So it turns out, so I started dunking on this dude before I even bothered to look at his bio. turns out he's from Canada. That's another thing that's driving me crazy. I'm really tired of people from other countries telling us how we should run our country, because I don't tell Canada how to run their country. I make fun of them quite often for how they run their country, but I don't tell them how they should run theirs.
It's too funny, man. I started doing this new bit on stage a couple nights ago, and I can't wait to do it more. Like I love it when people are like, other countries are laughing at us. And I'm like, let them laugh. Like, we're the most awesome civilization known to man. Like, no one has done it better than America. If it looks crazy to other people, if it looks ugly to other people, if other people laugh at it, laugh away. Laugh away. We're about to build a city on the moon. Like legitimately. We've been up there. We took cars up there. We've invented laptops. We invented cell phones. We invented the modern we've invented the car, the Transcontinental Railroad. We've done it all. We're about to start construction on a moon city. Laugh away. Laugh away, you losers. What? Oh, Canada. Oh, you should get rid of your electoral college, eh? What do you know, you queen, foot, kissing, French, speaking, backwards, polite, milk in a bag serving? Like, laugh away, Canada.
Speaking of the moon base, if I thought there was an even remote shot that I could be like the first political talk show host on the moon and the wife would go for it, I would still move there, just because it's probably the only way I'm ever going to lose weight.
It is, it's awesome. It's awesome. If they do it. My dad, when I was very young, my dad worked at this company, Rockwell Aviation, and they made components for the space program, which is always like, remember that movie Armageddon? You know, when Steve Buscemi, you know, the rocket's about to take off, and the guy's like, I'm nervous, and Buscemi's like, why? Because you're sitting on a giant explosive made by a bunch of people who came in with the lowest bid, like that thing. My dad's, this company that he worked for, they made components. They're whatever. But they would always talk about, we're going to do this by then, and it never comes true. We're going to be here by now. Like, granted, we were able to go to the moon. We did that. That's great. That's fantastic. We went back. We brought a car, but it's just been sitting there ever since. And I don't know why they're going back now. I have my theories on why they're going back now. One is because China's going. China is up there landing things on the dark side of the moon, and nothing gets Americans motivated like fear. But regardless, I hope they do it. I hope they do it by 2024. It would be awesome. Elon Musk is killing it. Did you see those satellites he launched the other night?
Oh, yeah. I've been keeping up with pretty much everything he does space related. It's awesome.
It is. It's totally fantastic. And this is what I think. They should just start shipping up one of his Elon Musk boring drills up there. He's got this drill that dug underground tunnels in L.A., and it's really awesome. It's really awesome. They should just take one of those drills up there and start drilling holes underneath the surface of the moon. Just have an underground lunar base and just knock it out. Just knock it out.
It's just kind of funny thinking about things that we used to think of as science fiction are actually probably about to be science fact.
I hope so. I really hope so. We need it. We need it. There's a ton of water on the moon, way more than they ever thought. We should totally do it. I'd sign me up. Sign me up. I would go too. All right. I have some interesting analysis on Game of Thrones. We're gonna wind this show up with this, because this is my great passion in life.
This one's all you, because I've never seen a single episode. Just saying.
Well, this is great. This is perfect. This is we're in a perfect habitat for me to explain my fears. Here's what's happened. This guy, George R.R. Martin, who was a former TV guy, former feature film guy, not a lot of success in either realm, but he was a very successful writer of fiction. He started this thing called Game of Thrones, and the books were very successful. And, you know, by the second book, I think he had a deal, you know, to develop it somewhere, and extremely, extremely successful show for HBO. They outpaced him. So the final 2 seasons on HBO, there was no real book to go off. They had an outline to go off. Now, George R.R. Martin was working with the show's developers and the show's creators to try to tell them this would happen and that would happen. However, this last season, season 8, left everybody, this is the grand finale, left everybody with a bad taste in their mouth. They're like, boy, that wasn't good. That was not satisfying at all. Why not? Why not? Now, here was my other concern with this is the 2 guys who were the air quote creators of the TV show for HBO. They just signed a deal with Disney, and they're going to be doing a Star Wars trilogy. Okay, so that's where my little worlds collide. It's Star Wars, and then it's fantasy, and here's the problem, and it's wonderful because now there's scientific evidence to back up my theory. The reason Game of Thrones season 8 wasn't emotionally satisfying is they rushed it. They went too fast. The characters were making these whiplash character changes. You went from good to evil, and you're like, wait, what? Why? And it all just felt rushed. So here's what they found out. And so here's my other beef, Rick, is that you have 2 guys who they didn't create Game of Thrones. They didn't invent any of this stuff. They were going off of an outline and failing. And now you're going to give them a Star Wars trilogy. That's terrifying to me. Somebody tracked. Okay, first of all, there's this. Here's the problem. George R.R. Martin, the creator of Game of Thrones, he told HBO, he goes, I want to do 13 seasons. I think we can do this in 13 seasons, and that'll be a satisfying beginning, middle, and end of the story. The 2 guys who HBO hired to run the show, they said, no, we're not going to do 13. We'll give you 6. And they're like, well, we need 13. We'll give you 6. Well, we need at least 10. And then they decided on 8. So already they're giving the story the short shrift. And then for seasons 7 and 8, they're like, but those are going to be short seasons. We're not going to do regular full run seasons. So they decided to sacrifice the story just because they didn't want to do it anymore. And they just bailed out. Here's the wonderful thing someone just did, and I tweeted this out. You can go through my timeline and find it. With closed captioning now, you can go back, and there's programs that'll track this stuff. You can track how many words were spoken in an episode. So they've tracked, like in season 1, season 2, season 3. This is the one where they're going off the books and all that other stuff. There was a bunch of talking. Like not only were there great action scenes, but people were using more words. As the show continued on, they stopped talking as much. And when you get to season 7 and season 8, it's like no one's really talking much at all. Like their use of the English language just falls off the map. And I would say that's because the show creators didn't know how to write dialogue for these characters. And they just like, well, we'll do it visually. We'll do it visually. We'll say it with a look. We'll say it with a look. And that is very, very scary. If you're a Game of Thrones fan and if you're a Star Wars fan like me, that means yikes. You had 6 seasons to get to know all these characters and know how they speak and know how they do things and know how they make decisions. And you couldn't do it. You failed. And now we have scientific evidence to back it up. You literally didn't use as many words. I find it very interesting. You seem very quiet, but I think this is big. This is very, very big news.
No, well, the reason I was quiet is because I was letting you finish your thought. But you actually made a point that I was going to make, and the simple fact of the matter is it's pretty scary that the people that were writing the show didn't take the time to learn the characters when they had books as source material and also 6 seasons worth of transcribing the books into TV episodes to figure out how these characters should behave. It also doesn't give me much hope for the newly announced Star Wars trilogy. At this point, I just wish they would have left it at 4, 5, and 6 and the books, because they've destroyed everything they've touched ever since 4, 5, and 6. It's
really not good. It's worrisome. It's worrisome. But the fans love it. The fans love it. The other day, Han Solo 2 was trending. There's a big movement in the Star Wars community to get a another young Han Solo movie made. I think that'd be wonderful. Okay,
My only thought with that, I think the first Han Solo movie would have been better if it would have been something that was kind of used as a bridge between everything else in Episode 7, since in case anybody hasn't seen it yet, there's a reason why I didn't find the Solo movie very enjoyable, because I already knew the ending.
Yeah, that's a problem. There was, listen, once you know how a character ends, once you know how something ends, for some reason, human beings just are no longer interested. It's hard to find a prequel interesting knowing that you already know the end. It's crazy. Remember, there used to be a show called The Fugitive. This is before the Harrison Ford movie. There was a show on TV, the Fugitive. This guy who was this doctor who set up for murder, who's being pursued by this one-armed man, and he's running from the law because they all think he's guilty of a crime. And it was a hit show, huge hit show. And then what happened is they did a final episode of the show where he finally catches the one-armed man and he's able to prove himself innocent. And it was a rating bonanza back in like whatever the 50s or the 60s, whenever it was on. However, when they tried to sell the show into syndication, nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted it because they knew how it ended. They knew there was a nice little bow on it. And it's crazy. Just people just find it uninteresting when you know the ending. I think they made a huge mistake. I know why they killed Han Solo's character in that Star Wars movie, but it was a really bad idea. It was a really bad idea. They never should have done it. So many mistakes. Okay. I'm not going to get to the big conspiracy thing, but that's okay because it is a little out there. I hope you guys are enjoying your Memorial Day. I hope you're having a blast. And I'm just going to summarize everything really quickly. This LoftusParty.com thing, this Loftus Party live show thing, it is legitimately grassroots. We don't have money for PR. We're not, buying advertising on radio stations, any of that stuff. We're relying on you. And you are a phenomenal audience. You listen to the show. You're telling your friends about it. And obviously you are, because then the numbers are improving. And it's all wonderful. And I love it. So I thank you for doing that. Keep up the good work. Come out and see a show. And if you can't make it to a show, buy a ticket. It's like donating. It's like donating to save the whales, save the right-wing comedians. I'll see you guys next week.